Today, I'm going to show you how to configure this replicator so that you can replicate your trades between multiple accounts of a single funding company or broker. If you're also interested in replicating accounts from multiple funding companies or brokers, don't worry, because with this same product, you can do it. Only we've prepared a separate video for that specific configuration, so make sure to watch it if that's what you need. The video to learn how to replicate between different funding companies or brokers is in the description of this video. The first thing we're going to do is open the platform. Simply double-click the Ninjatrader icon and log in with your account. After logging in, it's important to activate an option called Multi-Provider. To activate it, go to the Tools tab, select Options, check the box that says Multi-Provider, and that's it. If you're using an older version of Ninjatrader and don't see this option, don't worry. In that case, you can skip this step without any problem. Once you've done that, we're going to configure the connection with your funding company or broker. In Ninjatrader, go to the Connections tab and click Configure. That's where you'll enter the username and password provided by your funding company or broker, following their instructions. Once you've configured the connection, go back to the Connections tab and select the connection you just created to connect. If you have any problems connecting, make sure you entered your username and password correctly. Also, check your broker's instructions to ensure everything is set up correctly. Remember that connection problems are usually not related to the replicator, but to the company providing your data. So if they persist, contact your funding company or broker directly. As an additional tip, if you're connecting through a funding company, make sure you've previously accepted the terms and conditions in Rithmic or Tradivate before trying to connect in Ninjatrader. Now that we have the platform configured, let's explain what the account supervisor is and why it's so important. This supervisor is the most crucial tool of the replicator, and although many traders think they can do without it, they don't realize the risks that entails. Personally, I consider not using the account supervisor an act of irresponsibility, since it's essential to protect yourself from unforeseen events. The account supervisor is a control panel that allows you to view the progress of all your accounts in one place. In addition, it sends you notifications and alerts if any account experiences market-related issues, which teaches you how to take action and exit complicated situations. And here's a fundamental tip. Don't wait for alerts to appear in the middle of live trading. It's vital that you know in advance which alerts may arise and how to react. Therefore, I recommend you pause the video now and spend a few minutes reading the information on how to react to alerts. To get these details, just press the How to React to Alerts button that you'll find on the supervisor screen. Furthermore, the account supervisor allows you to perform several actions using its buttons. Number 1, Reset Account Lists. Restores the original list if you have deleted any account. Number 2, Hide Options. Shows only the account list. Number 3, Pin Supervisor Here. Saves the position and size of the supervisor so that when you close and open the Ninjatrader platform, it appears in the same position and with the same dimensions. Number 4, Remove Overlay. By default, the supervisor is displayed on top of all windows. With this button, you can disable that overlay. Number 5, Close All Positions. Closes open positions in all accounts. Number 6, Attempt to regularize false positions. If a false position warning appears, press this button to try to regularize them. Learn more about this topic in the How to React to Alerts section. And number 7, Alerts to Telegram. Receive notifications in your Telegram chat and monitor your accounts remotely. This feature not only keeps you informed about alerts, but also allows you to control some actions from Telegram. Note that it requires additional configuration, which you can consult in the configuration video available in the description of this video, or by visiting the website brunomeza.com. You can also enable or disable replication on each account independently with the Activate, Deactivate Replication button. And if there's an open position on any account, you can close it individually with the Close button, which also deactivates replication on that account to prevent the exit of the main account or parent account from being copied. Remember, closing the account supervisor is risky since you would lose the ability to monitor and detect alerts in time. If you close it, you can always reopen it from the Tools tab in Ninjatrader. Before starting with the installation of the replicator, we have to ensure we're inside a workspace. If we're not inside a workspace, all the configuration we make will be deleted. That's why it's important to make sure we're inside a workspace before we start. To do this, we're going to go to the Workspaces tab. If we see a row like this, for example, in my case, Untitled 7, or in your case, it might be Untitled or Default, or whatever it's called. If we see a row like that, it means we're already inside a workspace, so we're good. However, if we don't see anything other than the default workspace indicator and no rows here, we must create a workspace so that the configuration is not deleted. To create the workspace, click the New button and create the name of our workspace. Now we'll move on to installing the replicator. The first step is to create the copy chart and configure the parent and slave indicators. We're not going to use this copy chart to trade. We'll only use it to link the parent and slave accounts. It's important to note that you're linking all the accounts with all their existing instruments. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the replicator will only work for the instrument on this chart. Here, the instrument you choose doesn't matter because the replicator will link the entire accounts. To create this chart, open Ninjatrader, go to New, then Chart, and select any instrument and any time frame, doesn't matter which. If the chart has indicators, remove them and then rename it to Copy in uppercase. Once you have the chart, let's link the parent and slave accounts. Before linking, we must decide which will be our parent account. This account must be the one that will trade with the smallest number of contracts in terms of count, not value. For example, if you plan to trade one mini contract on one account and 5 micro contracts on another, the parent account must be the mini, since it will operate with fewer contracts. If there are several accounts that trade the same number of contracts, and any could be the smallest, then you can choose any of them. Once we've chosen the parent account, we'll start configuring the replicator. This is one of the most important parts of the process, so I'm going to explain it in detail to make it very clear. What we're doing here is setting up a system where a main account, which we call the parent account, sends the trading orders that will be replicated in other secondary accounts, which we call slave accounts. Before showing you how to configure the replicator indicators, it's important that you know this new method we're teaching only applies to versions 37.7 or higher. If you've just purchased the replicator, don't worry. The version you installed is the latest and you don't need to do anything else. However, if you already had the replicator and you're watching this part to learn how to configure it again, please verify first that you have version 37.7 or higher. This is crucial for the configuration method we're going to show next to work correctly. To check your current version, go to Tools and look at the title of the account supervisor. There, you'll see your version number. If you don't see the account supervisor, assume your version is lower than 37.7. If your version is lower than 37.7, visit brunomezza.com and click the Update to the latest version button or update your program to the latest version to get the latest versions before continuing with this tutorial. The replicator allows you to copy trades from one parent account to one or multiple slave accounts automatically. Configuring it is very easy. You just need to follow these steps. choose which will be your parent account. The parent account must necessarily be the one that will trade with the fewest contracts. If all accounts will trade the same number of contracts, the parent account can be any of them. Then create a parent indicator. To do this, go to the copy chart, right-click on it, and select Indicators. Find the indicator called NT8 to T8 Padre and create it by double-clicking on it. Assign to this indicator the account you chose as the parent account in the account parameter and leave the default group connection 1 without changing anything. With this, your parent account is ready. On the other hand, the slave accounts will automatically copy the parent account's trades. For each slave account you want to replicate, create a slave indicator. To do this, go to the copy chart, right-click on it and select Indicators. Find the indicator called NT8 score Esclavo and create as many slave indicators as you have slave accounts by double-clicking on it. For each indicator, assign the respective slave account in the account parameter and leave the default group connection 1 without changing anything. All slave accounts must belong to the same group as the parent account, by default, connection 1. There can only be one parent account per group. Done. Now the slave accounts will automatically copy the trades of the parent account. If at any time you want to have another parent account with its own separate set of slaves, you can use another group such as connection 2. This is useful if you want different parent accounts to operate independently without their slaves mixing. Also, if you want to test with simulated accounts, you can create them by right-clicking on the Sim 101 account in Ninjatrader's Control Center and then clicking the Add Simulated Account button. Remember that after adding the simulated account, you must disconnect from the current connection and reconnect so that the newly created simulated account begins to function. Once you've linked the slave accounts to the parent accounts, you can modify certain parameters for each slave account from its respective slave indicator. For example, you can activate the mini to micro or micro to mini option, which will allow you to place a mini trade and have it replicate as a micro in the slave account, or vice versa, place a micro trade and have it replicate as a mini in the slave account. You can also adjust the contract leverage, which allows you to multiply the number of contracts in the slave account based on the amount the parent account entered. For example, if we set the number 2, we would be saying that the slave account will enter twice the amount that the parent account entered. Another option is to limit the maximum open contracts in the slave account to protect you from trades that exceed your limits. That is, if you make a mistake and the parent account enters a number of contracts that you shouldn't have, the slave account simply won't enter that position and will lock until you close and reopen NinjaTrader. The same happens if you have an open trade and exceed the set contract quantity. The trade will close and the account will remain locked. The intention of this parameter is to protect your accounts against human errors. You can also use the Market Addition option. This version will not replicate limit orders, neither target nor stop, but it will execute them. That is, when a limit order is placed in the parent account, this order will not appear in the slave account. But when that order is executed in the parent account, Market Addition mode will transform that order into a market order in the slave account and execute it at market. This ensures that the trades always execute. Finally, you can activate the contrary option, which inverts the orders. In other words, a buy in the parent account will be replicated as a sell in the slave account, and vice versa. The contrary option is only available with the Market Addition version. Finally, we'll minimize the copy chart. The copy chart will be our configuration chart, and we'll only go to it when we want to modify the replicator, add more accounts, or remove accounts from replication. Remember that the copy chart must be minimized, never closed. If you close the copy chart, replication will stop. Now you can go to any other chart different from copy and test the account replicator. Remember that you can trade any instrument on any chart and in any time frame with your parent account. It doesn't matter if the copy chart is on a specific instrument and you want to trade another, because on the copy chart, you linked the accounts in their entirety. Remember that you should only replicate from the parent account to the slave accounts. If you trade the slave accounts, this will not imply replication to the other accounts.